one thing that the state allowed them to do to offer some property tax to residents in Lake County. So it may not be much, but it's really the only thing that they could legally do within the ORC. So is it ideal? No, maybe not for most people involved. Does it unexpectedly and adversely affect the budget of all local municipalities, including Concord Township, including the schools within Concord Township? Yes. But I think it's our ongoing responsibility as the elected officials and the stewards of Concord Township to pretty much use the tools and the information we have at our disposal to make the best decisions possible for the residents, and essentially offer the desired level of services that they communicate to us directly, and indirectly also at the voting booths, and make sure that we do whatever we can, use the information that's provided to make sure our residents are happy. I apologize for the long-winded report, but I do, I want to make sure that I reiterate the importance of the property tax within Ohio. Across the state, we have $22 million of revenue that's being collected on an annual basis, and the need for an equitable and proactive revenue replacement policy if there is going to be any material property tax reduction in the future. So I'll leave my comments there because I think we could go down the rabbit hole.
22 billion, not million.
Oh, 22 billion. Did I say B?
You said million, yeah.
With a B.
With the new speakers.
Right.
Yeah.
22 billion across the state. Obviously Mr. McIntosh and I and Administrator Rose, we get deep into the weeds on this, so I will spare everybody of all the details, but if anyone has specific questions regarding township finances, certainly give us a call 440-354-7516. And that will conclude my report.
All right, Mr. Patriarca, we appreciate your perspective and the way you kind of sum that up and appreciate you going to the meeting. I did watch the meeting, but that was a good sort of synopsis on the perspective. So thank you. Even though it was long-winded, we appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay. So did we fix them? Did we really fix them? Okay.
I think so.
We'll try to move on. We will move to our trustees. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll get to, I have a few comments to add to Mr. Patriarca's. I'll get to that in a minute. But first, worked at the polls yesterday for the county as an election day rover, which I always enjoy, not necessarily when my alarm goes off, but usually by the end of the day. And with that, I do want to offer my public congratulations to Amy and Carl for their re-election. And even though you weren't opposed, I would also like to point out the fact that nobody saw fit to file against you is no small amount of effort. So congratulations on earning that unopposed position and the formality of being re-elected. I am honored, proud, and just excited to continue serving with both of you. So, have had ongoing conversations with residents about property taxes. We had some residents who I spoke with a couple weeks ago come to office hours this evening. We had a constructive conversation. I attended a ribbon cutting for Mailboxes Plus up in Gristmill. Met the owners there, Frank and his wife, and he is just awesome, enthusiastic, so excited to be there. He is a great guy, lots of services. I'm not really here to advertise for a business, but took some time to get to know him, and he's like, I want to be involved, I want to help. So great to see that kind of enthusiasm in our community. Did travel to Columbus last week for ICSC for a retail live event. I think it was kind of like a compact one afternoon, unfortunately, but sales is a numbers game. We didn't get very far with anybody for Thursday, but if you don't make the effort to go down, you don't get anywhere, so it's still worth it. Regarding the property tax roundtable, Mr. Patriarca did offer a really good synopsis of what's going on. The state legislature provided the county commissioners the opportunity to do that this summer, so it's a brand new thing. I want to commend our commissioners for the leadership on the issue. There are a number of counties, well, not a number, but like a dozen, I think, of the 88, so no huge number, but there are some that have done it. I don't want to get into a thing, but I know they're just like there's 3 trustees, there's 3 commissioners, and they all hold different views. The reason that this came up as late as it is because some of the commissioners wanted to take and just do it, and others were said, hey, this needs a process. So I commend them for convening a meeting where you had cities, townships, villages, schools, and parks, all of the stakeholders, kind of like our stakeholder meeting with the fire station project. They were all in one room. The meeting was recorded multiple times. There was some open dialogue. I feel that's a unique thing in government, and I think people in Lake County I really hope people pay attention to the fact that the commissioners took the time to do that. They don't need to do that. They can just do things. They can swing an axe and do it without. But I know one of the commissioners went around and met with other people leading up to that meeting, and there will be follow-up meetings. This isn't a one and done. So I commend them for their leadership and for those that saw fit to be cautious about this, because it is a big deal. The cuts are tantamount to about 2%. So, and as Mr. Patriarca said, their estimates that we have are sort of, generally speaking, a worst case. That's assuming a broad stroke of 100%. So we don't know how it'll shake out. School districts are getting cut millions of dollars. We're getting a few $100,000. And so it means different things to different entities, but losing money always has an impact, and it comes down to choosing services. So it was a tough one because everyone's in budget season right now. So people are doing budgets, and then Thursday they said, yep, they did it. So now all of a sudden, the budget guy chuckles. I'm glad to see John's got a sense of humor about it. So this is not done. The legislature continues to work. There's a lot going on. The impact of this thing is going to continue to ripple for the next couple of years. I encourage residents to ask questions, stay engaged on this issue. It's complicated and it's meaningful. Property tax reform will more than likely have a dramatic impact on services. Please, please don't forget that. And with that, I'll conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Mr. Gondorfer.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. Yes, I would personally like to thank the Concord Township residents and community for retaining Amy and I for another 4 years as trustees for this community. It's been an honor and privilege to serve here, especially with this board. I also had the opportunity to work the polls for some other candidates all day yesterday, and had some residents come up thanking us for the job that we do here. Not just the board, but specifically commenting, our fire department, road department, the recreation programs we have. It's a lot that goes on in this township. It's been an honor to serve here. It's been an honor to serve with this board, and I think we do it through dedication and commitment and honesty, and I'm looking forward to another 4 years. So thank you to the Concord Township community and to all of you. I did have a resident that came in and saw us during the office hours reference a neighbor issue that we helped them with. We continue to welcome anybody to come in office hours and talk to us. If you have an issue, we're happy to help you or listen to any concerns that you have. Had a couple calls from some other residents regarding some property issues that we discussed in office hours that we're going to work to help to try to get them some resolution to those. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gondorfer. And yes, I would like to thank the residents for your vote. It just means so much. It's such an honor to be able to serve in this way. In my day job, they ask me why do you like to do this? And it's hard to explain, but it's so meaningful. We can't maybe help everybody the way they want to be helped, but the fact that we're here, we listen, we live here, so we want our community to be the best that it can be. And I feel being involved in those decisions is just meaningful, purposeful work. So thank you from the bottom of our heart, and congratulations to you too. And serving alongside you, John, and with Andy in our department, I just couldn't ask for a better group of people. So best of the best. So thank you very much. I would like to also congratulate all who have won their prospective elections from yesterday. So hope everyone had a nice Halloween. We look forward to the holiday events coming up that Andy, I'm sure, will fill us in on a little bit. I also would like to commend the commissioners for offering the roundtable, offering to spend some time with all the local officials to understand and explain sort of what their process, what their thinking is. I know Commissioner Beveridge has come to our Township Association meetings, which is very meaningful and has helped us kind of understand, as well as our auditor. So we will move forward and see what happens. It's difficult because we do want to be able to help our especially low-income seniors. But we also do have to remember that it does affect service, as you said, and costs never go down and our needs continue to go up. So it is a kind of balance, so we kind of we'll see what happens as we move forward. Also would like to shout out the new businesses that were mentioned in the e-grapevine. You already mentioned Mailbox Plus, Birdie Kings. We know Little Mountain Dental will be coming soon. I did get some calls about signs in the right-of-way, which I know at this time people complain about a lot of the election signs and other signs. If they're on personal property, private property, we can't really touch that. If it's in the right-of-way, usually our zoning department will go and kind of remove those signs after elections. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. I would like to say Happy Veterans Day coming up next week to our veterans. Thank you for your service, Mr. Rose, and anyone else who has served. And with that, we will move on. Going on to our administrative department, Mr. Andy Rose.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci, members of the board, Mr. Patriarca, members of the audience, good evening. I'll start with items on the agenda. Item A is Resolution 2025 TAC 24. This resolution updates the public records policy for the township in order to match current state of Ohio laws and regulations. Thank you to Mrs. Matheny for her help in getting that updated. Item B is Resolution 2025 TAC 25. That adopts an amendment to the cemetery policy for the township. It adds a language regarding disclaimer of liability that Karen Warner, our cemetery sexton, wanted included in that. So I encourage positive votes on both of those. Moving on, congratulations to Mrs. Lucci, Mr. Dondorfer. I look forward to working with you another 4 years. It's very exciting. On the economic development front, we're continuing to work with a manufacturing company that's under a land contract back on Discovery. Things are moving along smartly on that. We're also in discussions with one of our existing companies regarding a possible expansion. So there is some good economic development activity taking place here in Concord Township. I continue to field questions, and it's never ending. I continue to field questions about the initiative to eliminate property taxes and what happens should this occur as far as the impact to the township revenue. Folks seem to be concerned about impacts and increases to local income tax and sales taxes. So we don't know what that answer is. I mean, I think we all have our personal opinions on what's going to happen if this happens, but no one knows for sure, and there are lots of options out there. So I just tell people to, check in with me regularly. I'm tracking a bunch of different bills that are in the state legislature related to property tax reform, and I'm staying tied in with OTA and clout, and we're just watching and tracking some bills to see what happens here in the next probably 4 to 6 months. And then, as Mrs. Lucci touched on, a reminder that Tuesday is Veterans Day, so I would like to personally thank all those that have served our nation in the armed forces. And then also a very special shout out, on Monday, November 10th, is the Marine Corps' 250th birthday, very near and dear to my heart. So that's a big special day. So happy birthday to the Marine Corps, and thank you to all our veterans, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Moving on to our fire department, Chief Zabo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First of all, congratulations, Mrs. Lucci and Mr. Dondorfer.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work that you've done for Concord Township and supporting the department heads, including myself, and look forward to more years of service. I appreciate you guys. For the month of October, we responded to a total of 254 incidents. 164 of them were EMS events with 135 transports to local hospitals. We had 90 non-EMS events, including 4 fires. Inside of Concord, we had 1 vehicle fire. Outside of Concord, we assisted with 2 building fires and 1 chimney fire. We gave mutual aid 27 times, received mutual aid 3 times, and we had 94 overlapping calls for about 37%. Our Fire Prevention Bureau completed 70 inspections and 9 plan reviews. and they also completed about 4 hours of continuing education in between all the other programs that I'll go over here in a little bit. In terms of public education, we were at Olan Resurka providing CPR, first aid, AED, and fire safety training for 70 employees over there. We did emergency response training for leaders at Hope Ridge and at St. Gabe's. At the Concord Community Center, we were there on October 24th. There's a group called Voice Your Concerns. We presented on lithium battery safety and storage and purchase and all that stuff. So there were about 9 people there. The last couple days, on October 28th and 30th, on-duty firefighters went to Tri-Point and participated in UH's MRI. They're doing a pilot training program, so for the MRI area. So we went and helped them with that. So that was good. Participated with that program. And on October 30th, we all presented again EV, electric vehicle safety for the HOA at Cobblestone for about 40 people. So we keep pushing the message about electronic vehicles and electronic chargers, lithium batteries, so on and so forth. And we're going to keep sending that message through the e-grapevine because the safety and storage of that is critical. So we need to make sure that message gets out to everybody. The month of October is a really busy month for the fire department as it is Fire Prevention Month. So our team delivered in-person fire safety presentations at 20 schools, including field trips to Station 1. In total, we reached 1,618 children and staff in the month of October, which is no small task. And my gratitude to the firefighters, the staff at and the Fire Prevention Bureau at the fire department. That was a pretty big feat. So each child received a safety package that included a firefighter hat, badge, parent information packet, and safety activity coloring book. And let me remind you that all those materials is funded by our aluminum cans. So that's a huge, huge benefit. And so keep bringing the cans. We'll keep emptying it. So it's okay. In recent years, however, the cost of commercially produced coloring books has continued to rise while their quality has diminished. This year, we're especially grateful to our friends at the Recreation Department for their outstanding support. Using their in-house printing equipment, they produced 1,800 high-quality coloring books that we pretty much designed in 2 age-appropriate versions, one for preschool and kindergarten, and one for first grade and older. While some may debate the cost effectiveness when factoring in paper, use of equipment, wear and tear, staff time, the final product far exceeded anything we could buy. And it was a lot less expensive. So their efforts allowed us to deliver a stronger, more meaningful fire safety message to our community's children and their families. We also installed 6 residential lock boxes, and we had 4 returned, and 5 homes were serviced and/or we changed their smoke alarm batteries. So, I know we just changed our clocks for whoever still has clocks that need changing. I still have a couple, so, but it's still a good reminder to check your smoke alarms, not just then, check your smoke alarms monthly, and then change your batteries out regularly. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Chief.
All right, Service Department, Mr. Tim Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Evening.
evening.
Congratulations, Mrs. Lucci, Mr. Dondorfer.
Thank
The
you.
Service Department appreciates everything you guys do for us. The Service Department in the month of October continued with our concrete slab replacements. Our concrete crew has poured 1,200 yards of concrete to date, and the crew will be wrapping up the season in the next couple of weeks. Our other crews have been performing storm sewer repairs, ditch maintenance, pothole patching, and cemetery operations. The Service Department is working with the Lake County Engineers Office on the 2026 joint road resurfacing projects. We're performing road evaluations and gathering cost estimates to prepare for the 2026 budget year. A stormwater improvement project on Sarah Lee Drive to correct excessive erosion began the week of 10/27. The Lake County Stormwater Department will be managing this project for us. The 2 brush day collections that were offered by the Service Department were very busy. Many residents took advantage of the drop-off. In addition, the yard waste drop-off continues to see steady traffic every day. We remind residents that the yard waste drop-off is open Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. The drop-off will close for the season on December 5th at 2:30 p.m. Residents that wish to protect their mailbox from snow coming off the plows can purchase a mailbox snow barricade from the Service Department for a $50 fee. The mailbox barricade application can be found on the Concord Township website or picked up at Town Hall. Installation of the barricade by the Service Department is included. As we get closer to winter weather, we remind motorists to allow more travel time when winter weather conditions persist and give the plow truck operators room to perform their operations. Residents with questions or concerns are encouraged to contact the Service Department at 440-350-3225 or on the website at concordtwp.com. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, moving on to our Recreation Department with Andy Rose, AKA Sean Supler.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Lucci, members of the board. On behalf of the Recreation Department, we'd like to thank everyone who came to the Fall Fest on Saturday, October 4th. It was a very successful event. We appreciate the support from the residents. We want to thank our facility attendants who are all able to come up and help set up. The other fall event was the drive-in movie night that was at Lamuth. We had our biggest crowd to date for that, and we'd like to thank our sponsors, which are Zappy's Auto Care and Scafco, who have sponsored that event every year, and it continues to grow. And I believe this year was How to Train Your Dragon, so it was pretty popular. Upcoming programs and events, 55 plus group, November 19th is Friendsgiving, and that is completely sold out. But I believe there might be a waiting list. You can call the rec department and get on there, and that'll be at the community center. A couple of upcoming adult classes featured tomorrow, November 6th. There's a female self-defense class that's taught by Cyril Grandini. We have 17 ladies registered for this class. I'm hoping that will become a more routine class throughout the upcoming year. And then there's also a very popular canvas painting class with Ariel Inspired Art Studio. That's on November 11th, and this one is themed Let It Snow, which I think the service director probably picked that name. Upcoming special events, Friday, December 5th will be our annual lighting of the Christmas tree starting at 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall campus. Please stop in up to this annual event, and also Santa and Mrs. Claus will be here to see the kids. Saturday, December 13th, an extremely popular event, which is Letters to Santa with Mrs. Claus hosting the kids at the community center and coaching them on writing letters to Santa. And then lastly, don't forget you can register your houses and homes for the Light Up Concord contest, and also for the videos from Santa that they will be recording. So to sign up for any of those or any of the other programs, visit the website, click under the Recreation Department. All the information's there. And if you have any other questions, you can call the Rec Department at 440-639-4650, and Sean, Susie, or Rachel will be happy to help. That concludes the Rec report.
Thank you, Mr.
Stop
Rose.
hitting the desk.
Okay. All right, moving on to Lake County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Rako.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks to both of you again. For the month of October, the Lake County Sheriff's Office handled 785 calls for service. 102 of those were traffic stops, resulting in 16 citations. 86 of those were warnings. 4 of those were OVI arrests. There's a total of 5 domestic violence arrests. The other calls consisted of business checks, community policing, alarms, suspicious vehicles, welfare checks, disturbances, so on. That's all that we have.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our audience portion. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Sir, please come on up. You can just say your name and your address, please.
Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is
Afternoon.
Derek Gardner, and we are at 10676 Pride Road. I don't know if you remember us from earlier this year.
Yes.
We had the issues with the Blackmore Estates.
Yes.
So that's why we're kind of coming back this evening. Also, Mr. Rose, wonderful socks.
Thank you.
He does that on purpose.
A little bit of a lighter note, real quick.
That's good.
But I just want to start by saying thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. Obviously, we're bringing up some concerns with the Blackmore Estate. And we want to start by saying we understand the growth and new development are part of the community's progress. The ongoing construction has been extremely disruptive for us, being that it's right across our driveway. The constant activity and noise on the weekend and the new weekend work has been extremely disruptive for us and our quality of life. In fact, we tried to sell our house earlier this year. A few months ago, we listed it for sale to see if we could get anything. And our main issue was we had a few people come in and potential buyers. And one of the concerns that was mentioned 8 times in our showings was the current construction, the unknown, how long it was going to take, and vice versa. And then some things brought up with getting out of our driveway, which has been a challenge. So as a result, we felt kind of stuck. We did take it off the market, and we just kind of have been unable to kind of find the piece. So we're here tonight to kind of understand what to expect moving forward and how the township can help us reduce the impact. Some things I want to bring up was talking to some of the neighbors, my neighbors, just trying to pick their brains on everything that we had going on, because they were obviously, we share the same concerns. Our other neighbor, he's in Florida all the time, so he's not really too versed in everything going on. But mainly what our concern is the not only the noise, but now the weekend work. We kind of understood that this is what we were getting into. Like, it's going to be our temporary thing, 5 days a week. The noise is tough. You know, nap times don't exist, and my wife is now, pregnant, 23 weeks pregnant. So napping for her has been extremely tough while also giving up nap time for our little one. So we wanted to kind of bring that up a little bit to kind of understand what the timeline was for this development. Because when we asked the W.R. Dawson about it, they said that the only update we could get was that they were starting construction on homes, hopefully in November. So that replaces trucks and tractors with hammers and nail guns and stuff like that. So we kind of wanted to see if we could get a better timeline of how long this is going to take for us, because as it sits right now, we didn't want to move when we came here. We loved the area. Looking across the street, we saw a farm and a guy walking his dog all the time. We're like, this is beautiful. This is kind of where we're at. And now seeing that it's all gone has kind of really disrupted everything that we moved here for. And one of the significant impacts I want to kind of bring up to the fact of with the construction is that we have the increased traffic on Prouty Road has been substantial. And I don't know if that's just something we're just noticing because we're so sensitive to the fact, but it feels like, between the trucks, the tractors, the low boys, bringing in equipment and everything like that, blocking obviously us being right across the street, it blocks us from getting out sometimes. Having the tractors coming in and out, the constant traffic has been very difficult for us to navigate. And it feels like the road itself has become more busy with the ongoing things going on. And I don't know, when we have more homes, we know that there's going to be more cars, and then on top of the construction that we're understanding is going to be a new development down the street, we're going to add more to the Prouty Road in general. And it's already been a busy cut-through street. And the hill, especially in the rain, those trucks struggle. And they are really having a hard time, and that really kind of clogs up the road even longer. So it's just there's this perfect storm of effects that just adds to the frustration of everything that we've kind of experienced. And talking to my neighbors on that, kind of going back to that note, was that they didn't understand or know what was going on. We obviously had no idea that there was a development being put in right across the street when we were moving in. We had no indication nothing was kind of brought to our attention, no mail or anything like that. And I don't know if that's how it works, but maybe in the future that's something we were like, maybe we could get some kind of feedback so we could get some idea as a community, like, hey, when we're putting in these big projects, especially a big development like this, how long is it going to take? Because it is a massive disruption to, you know, we're a small growing family. Neighbor next door has a family as well. I don't know the rest of our street. We've had some people reach out to us when we reached out to try and get some feedback on how this is affecting other people. We tried to kind of do it ourselves, and you know, it was tough to kind of get an idea of what was going on because people didn't really understand where the development started. And then going into that, not knowing about Blackmore is going into KB Farms. From my understanding, I think talking to Mr. Rose, KB Farms is due to be demolished in the coming future. I'm not sure. We haven't gotten any indication on that as well. And, you know, bringing it up to some of my friends who live in Concord and our neighbor as well, because I was asking him if he had heard anything about it. He also said no. So I don't know if that is still a thing going on, if that is going to be a development, but that is something we're like, so many people don't understand that this is going to be right in their backyard. That development that's on Prouty Road is going to also be affected. And people are like, what do you mean they're going on the Nextdoor app? And they're like, what is this? What do you mean KB Farms is going to be demolished? So it seems like there's no clarity as to what is going on with that property as well. And that is adding to us looking at it going, we got to deal with this, which we're kind of okay. We're sitting here going, it's frustrating, it's temporary, maybe we can kind of ride this out. And then the weekend's construction work started, and now we're having KB Farms as well. We're like, when is this going to start? Is it going to be a constant 5-7 years? How long is this going to take for us to just be having machines up and down our street, especially when we're trying to grow our family? It's a lot of added stressors that we're just not trying to deal with. So trying to get a blueprint or understanding of what is going to happen with both these developments would be extremely beneficial. So estimated timeline for the overall project. Run through some of my questions here, and the main phases of construction and when they're expected to occur. If someone was able to reach out and maybe get more feedback, because we're not, I guess, privy to that information, calling as a resident. But when we get the idea of, hey, we're hoping to build houses in November, that's all we get. And then how long is that going to take, I guess? And then do we know if we could get some known factors on what's going to extend or delay this? Because we were hoping we wouldn't run into weekends. You know, I was hoping we would have that sanctuary of, hey, at least we got Saturday and Sunday. But now we have Saturdays as well that 6:45, 6:50 in the morning, you hear machines start kicking up, and you're like, oh, here they go again, or something unloading, and you hear the backup alarm start going. They're moving dirt a lot because there's a ton on the property, which we understand, but now we're like, all right, weekends are, you know, we're diving into our weekend time here, and they were working on Sunday as well, and we're like, this is really killing us. It's become really frustrating, obviously. So, and on top of that, you know, the working hours during the week was one thing that we couldn't understand. We had times 7 o'clock, they're waiting. They got the township dialed in. They know 7 o'clock is the rule, and they're like, fire it up, let's go. And then they go all afternoon. And, you know, so now we're working into dinner time and everything like that. We're just like, all right, we're just, everything seems to be extended. And then, as a previous question I brought up was how residents be informed of updates and changes to the construction schedule. That includes Blackmore, but also KB Farms. If that is a project that is, what we heard last time we were here a few months ago was that it was approved to be demoed and to start a construction of, I believe it was 58 or 60 homes or something like that. So just kind of understanding what that is, if it is still an ongoing project. And then if we do have any more questions and concerns as this continues, to kind of who's the best point of contact for us to kind of keep bringing this up and kind of see like where we can get our information from, because it is kind of tough for us to get information. So, you know, obviously I'll close. You know, obviously we're disappointed with how this whole process has unfolded. neighbors, families, and members of the community didn't understand or know of anything with these projects that are going on. So having more consideration for that going forward would be beneficial for all of us to kind of understand, because we like the community, like we said. We came here because there's a good mix. You know, we didn't want Menor. The busyness that Menor has. I work there, I love it, but it is busy. It's a city. You kind of have the good mix. We're close. We have an acre. We have a good balance. And now we have more and more coming in. We're like, what's the breaking point for us? Is kind of where we're at. So kind of getting that balance for us. And it's because it has been pretty discouraging to see the entire street has been disrupted for us the entire summer. We didn't spend a lot of time in our house. We did everything we could to get out of it because of the noise was so awful, which was good because we got to explore tons of parks and things like that and get out of the house and everything. But at the same time, the home that we built and that we wanted as a family, it disrupted all summer long. And if it's going to continue to be that for the next few years, it's extremely tough for us, because now we tried selling our home to move out where we thought this would be our home. And we're going to be met with roadblocks because people don't want to deal with the construction, regardless of, the question is, it'll increase your value. That's what everyone tells us. And we understand that it could be a very good possibility. But at the same time, it's the short-term effect that we have on us that's really detrimental to not only my sleep, my family's sleep, her health, my child's health, just negating a lot of things that have happened. It's been an overall effect and had a huge impact on us. So we just wanted to bring that to light for everybody to kind of understand if there is more, especially in the age of technology, to kind of level it out for us so we could understand more updates on projects like this, because it is so, hard for us to understand, and there is no transparency, at least from what we can see. So, that's basically how I wanted to end it. We hope you take this to heart and recognize it has a very real impact on this project. This project has a real impact on us as a family, not in noise and inconvenience, but in the sense of the frustration and truthfully the emotion of helplessness it's caused for us being as residents. We hope that you hear us as residents We truly hope that you will hear us as the residents' well-being and prioritized moving forward. And that concludes all I have today.
Mr. Gardner, thank you so much. We do hear you. We do understand. We know when your wife spoke before, we have thought about this a lot. I think to answer some of your questions, first off, we try to be as transparent as possible. Mm-hmm. We are always a phone call away. Our zoning department can give you any information. We invite you to come to our meetings, to come to our zoning meetings when developers are here passing whatever developments they wish to pass. All that is open to the public, and you can call and come to any meetings as much as you want.
Okay.
But to answer your question regarding timeline for Blackbrook, Mr. Rose, what do you have?
We don't. Well,
do you have any
if you don't mind, can I?
Oh,
zoning.
sure.
No,
So, a couple things I wanted. So, I was on zoning for a lot of years. So,
Yeah.
pardon the interruption. But so, Blackmore, as far as you talked about notice, we're legally required to provide notices of zoning change, but they didn't reply so it's zoned residential. Somebody sold it, developer buys it. There's county permits and so forth. Those are all publicly, but there's no process legally where they're like, they're the project managers. We don't control the rate of their construction. I lived in Summerwood for a lot of years. That development started in 2006, and along came the financial crisis. The last houses were built in 2015. So that subdivision, now that's more than Blackmore's, a dozen? Yeah, so it's 18 houses. Summerwood was a couple hundred, and there were other phases. So but you had the financial crisis in there. If you have a market and the builder comes along and people stop buying homes, he could sell out 6 lots, and then the last 9 could take some period of time to build. So that's they manage the project. That's not. I mean, we talk with them and know things. So I think to Mrs. Lucci's points and Andy's always, we're available. We don't always know though, because that's a private thing. The township doesn't control that part of the business. So you will get notices if, so for K and B, there was a public hearing several years ago because they petitioned for a rezone. So everybody that's around is going to get a letter that goes out. Law requires it. You can speak on behalf of a rezone. But if the gentleman starts construction there, if he doesn't, just uses it as per, then construction permits, they go through the county, all of that stuff sort of happens. So it isn't as clear cut on, and we're not always a big part of that because we're not a city, so we don't issue all of the permits. The county handles some of that stuff. Townships are a little tricky because we don't own the entire process. We only own parts of it.
Okay.
I've got more, but
Okay.
No, it's good.
There's a lot going on with
Yeah.
your concerns. I will tell you, in starting as a trustee, I learned a lot here because you're sort of in the boat I was at, where, when you move in somewhere, you buy a house, there might be houses next to you, but there might be a large piece of vacant property across the street. Well, that's private property.
Yeah.
The owner, whoever that may be, might want to keep it that way. He may, down the road, decide to develop that or sell to a developer.
Yeah.
And as long as it meets zoning, the township doesn't have the ability to stop that zoning.
we don't control
We don't
it.
have the ability to stop the development. That's a private property owner right. What
Okay.
we try to do, if somebody proposes a development, is make sure it is balanced and fits the aesthetics of the community.
Okay.
So you specifically talked about K and B, and I don't know when you moved over there, but several years ago when we came on, I think K and B was one of the first
things, yeah.
proposals in 19 that the developer wanted to change zoning. He wanted to make it a large resident
he wanted
retirement village.
You want to put
Well-
10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag.
And
We said no.
And we had concerns about the increased traffic.
Yeah.
The type of zoning change that he wanted to make. It wasn't harmonious with the other residences there.
Yeah.
And we denied it. So it sat
Yeah.
there vacant for years.
Okay.
Now, the developer may be looking to develop that. They don't give us a notice. What Mr. McIntosh is right. If there needs to be a change or the plan needs to be approved by the board, that's sort of the trigger on when we're notified that a vacant piece of property
Right.
is going to be developed.
Okay.
So that's not a lack of transparency. There's several other vacant properties within the township that can be developed.
Yeah.
And we have to, if it's going to be developed and it meets zoning, we have the obligation to make sure that we
Research it.
Right. We make sure that
Yeah.
it meets the community's aesthetics, and we try to do that and balance what's best for the Concord Township community.
Yeah.
I understand there's a lot of traffic going on there.
Yeah.
And then initially, when your wife spoke, and she did a great job, it came down to the fact that we were talking about maybe making some type of change in our noise resolution of about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But when we look, or 30 minutes to an hour, but when we looked at that, it was like a domino effect. There was it wasn't synonymous with other business or start times for other entities that are in Concord Township. So to tell you, the county engineer or ODOT on 44, road improvements, it would cause several other conflicts.
Okay.
So it was hard to balance that, knowing that also it was a temporary nuisance, because I think initially the big issue was the heavy machinery
Yeah.
noise, and that's significantly different than just general contracting and building on a house and nail guns like you talked about.
Yeah.
Because I think your wife mentioned the heavy machinery, and I don't know the timeline on that, if they're going to be ready to start construction in November, but I know there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
You brought something up, and I think, so when somebody wants, like the K and B, if the guy wants to change the zoning classification, it'll go before the zoning board first. They'll make a recommendation. They'll be, then the trustees both the trustees and the zoning commission will have public hearings.
Okay.
We're the ultimate deciders on that. Going back to what the zoning commission and to some degree we deal with is in those cases, Ivy Ridge over off of Girdle Road. Carl correctly cites when we looked at K and B, these developments come in, there was the Aria's Way when that came back and they added the house over by our fire station too. Traffic study, access. So like everybody, the fire department comes in, talks about the state fire code. At certain times that will require ODOT studies. So we asked the Ivy Ridge developer to get a traffic study, and then they did that. And then, well, we need to add a center turn lane. So we went back to the developer and said that has to be done. So the impact when you add, because you mentioned it in the deal. So when those things occur, they want site plan approval. That's when that diligence sort of occurs. So you don't get, public doesn't get, we don't send emails out because it's not necessarily efficient or whatever, but our agendas are on. So that's how you find out about this. It's all public, and then you can, if you can't make it, the recordings, or you can check the minutes from like 2 years ago, what they say. That's sort of how that process works. And I think Mr. Dondorfer hit the private property thing. The one thing I'll say is we're currently going through the comprehensive plan. So that's a document communities, Concord Township has taken the attitude of trying to touch on it about every 10 years. So it's not like hey, we're doing comp plan. It's not a new thing. I look at it as it was done in the early 2000s. They took a look at it in 15. It's been another 10 years. So it's a perpetual process. Mm-hmm. This community has chosen to be active about. Not every community. Lake County's doing a wrapping. There's a first time in 60 years. So, but it's the same thing at a county level. So when we take a look at land use, how do we want to develop the idea of the town, of a town center or a retail district? Or that's where a lot of that incubation came from, a lot of the history. So that goes to the thoughtfulness. So when K&B, when that developer comes and we may see that again, we lean on our comp plan. We look at what does it say for that? Is it, and then we ask the critical questions. So that's how that works. Is the survey still open?
Yeah.
So so if you go to our website, you can fill it out. So it's been open for like a month now, but it'll go in. We'll get the survey results. There's consultants running it. So it's an opportunity for you to say what you want to see in Concord. There'll be a process going on. There'll be public events. So welcome. We'd love to have, we don't get enough resident participation to share perspectives like that. You'll learn more. You'll see how some of this works. So that's just a bit on how that goes. And then I don't know, growing communities have, sort of the ongoing development thing. That's, I think it goes back to our conversation about noise. It's difficult, right? How do you put constraints around it? How do you put parameters on it? What is it? That's a difficult question that we've grappled with, not only with respect to construction, but just in general. The folks that came to office hours today had hey, could you put a resolution or something in about property maintenance kind of thing? And it always, as we said back in the summertime, it hits the whole, we want this regulation, we don't want this regulation. Is it an impediment to business? Does it support our residents? We have to strike a balance. So I think Mrs. Lucci said it best. I mean, we do appreciate, we hear, we have to govern the entire township, and we can't chase everybody's concerns all the time, but we do and again, I thank you for coming, because again, this dialogue exchange of information is something that's, I think, helpful to us, and opportunity for us to talk about these things. And maybe we've given you some ideas of where you can get more information or see how these things happen, and just don't think that someone walks in and throws this and we go, well, let's just go ahead and do this project.
There's so many controls in place and checks and balances, like for a new development. There's a public hearing. There's notifications made. People from both sides can come and say, I'm for this development for this reason, or I'm not for it for this reason. We had it in Ivy Ridge, which was the last phase of Quail Hollow. That's been initiated in, I think, the late 80s, but that was Ivy Ridge. And we had residents come in and say, well, when I bought this house, I never thought this was going to be developed back here. And we're like, well, there's always this phase, and it finally got to the point where the developer said, we're going to build it. And we're have some liability if we try to intervene and stop that.
Right. And you mentioned zoning, and I think it's an important thing. So I feel sometimes people say, well, can't you just zone or limit? There's another, and I don't know if but the township also is under the threat. Like, we could put zoning in place and sort of be onerous or restrictive if we don't follow what the comp plan says, and again, that's a process that started a few months ago and is going to go into this early summer next year. We can't just arbitrarily go, we just don't like that or want it. There has to be a basis, and if a developer comes in and says, you really just don't have, you're being arbitrary, we can get sued. So even though we might say, hey, we don't want this kind of a developer, no, like, that any entity, not just Concord, there can be litigation that forces an entity to accept development. So it seems on the outside it's kind of an easy thing, but we don't sit here with this. I think, Carl said it's private. We don't sit here with this one where you're like, we don't like that, we're going to stop it. It's not possible. And when you have a community that's been under development since the late 60s, the precedent of former leadership also too, like, well, this was approved and you're now saying you don't want this, like, that has to get, we can't just summarily change that because we'd be subject to litigation and all this stuff. So it's not as black and white as that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So everything we're telling you, I know, is not solving your problem, right? It's giving you some background as to why these things are happening, and like you mentioned, your big thing is how long is this going to last? Like Mr. McIntosh said, we have an idea of when things are going to start, what the proposals are, but we have no control over, they're going to be done by such and such a date. We do know, though, that it is temporary. It seems like it's forever. I know Summerwood did take a long time.
That's an extreme example, by the way. I only brought it out there just to demonstrate that
totally
an economic crisis can completely turn something on its end and change it they didn't expect to take that long, but it happens.
Yeah.
But like you said, I learned too. Like, you think you move in somewhere and you're like, oh, this is great. It's going to be the best. I'm going to see a farm. I'm going to have, and then you're like, wait, why are they allowing this to happen? My beautiful scenery has gone away. So they're giving you some context as to that. But, to actually help your problem, I don't think any change in a noise resolution is going to do anything because they're in those bounds. Unfortunately, we live in very weather dependent construction activities. So, trying to get done at 7 and so that they can get such and such house built sooner, to them, it's like they're kind of doing you a favor a little bit.
Yeah.
So, we apologize. We want you to stay. We're glad that you're here talking to us about it, because now, you know what? You can say to your neighbor, like, hey, there is something we can do. We can go to these zoning meetings if there's something we want to speak about. We can, ask Mr. Rose anything new, what's going on.
Yeah.
And what I learned is when you move somewhere, you kind of have to do your homework. Not to put you down or, just be disrespectful, but you really have to know when you move somewhere, okay, what's in my backyard? Who owns it? What are the plans? And your local township, city, zoning department can fill you in on all that before you move in.
Yeah, I think
Just so you know.
that was our biggest, like, looking at the farm across the street, because she's fantastic at going through all of it. She's very thorough. And when we looked at what it was, it didn't say anything specific belonged to like W.R. Dawson or any kind of like business entity. So it was like, it looks like guy owns it and guy owns this. Couldn't really find much on the middle property, like that, but that's probably not developable. So we were like, we saw that, we kind of said, this is fine. And that's where it kind of came in when one day you go out there and you're like, well, they took those trees down. That's weird.
And something else at that point, you could have talked to that landowner 2-3 years ago and they'd been like, well, fine. Then all of a sudden, Mr. Dawson shows, hey, I've got this offer for you. Yeah. And then they, oh, well, maybe I will sell it. We see that happening too. So it's hard, because people don't always, or maybe somebody has a chunk of land and then they pass and an estate ends up with it, and new owner, the kids or whatever, like, no, we're going to sell it, put my kids through college, and those kinds of things are.
And that's, I think for us, looking at all of it in general, like this whole thing, I understand that the zoning meetings would be beneficial for us to kind of go and kind of get a better idea. I'll have to look at those. I'm sure they're on the website.
They're online,
Okay.
They're not terribly interesting. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I think.
They're kind of.
But it would give us a perspective, and I think that's what we're searching for. Is we want to know, because, do we sell? Do we try and get into a different neighborhood? That's the thing where we're asking ourselves.
Yeah.
And to see if something's already developed and we don't have to worry about the noise, especially when we're trying to have more kids. And
that's tough. Because
Yeah.
nap times are really important.
Yeah.
And when you don't have them, that's really, there's a lot of impacts.
Mrs.
besides
Lucci
nap.
said something interesting, and just to, I think we all, I mean, I look at you and I see myself. I moved down the street, and my ex and I found this great condominium, and we moved in the fall, and it was wonderful. And then the warm weather came, and we opened the windows and sleep with nice cool air at night. And then I heard this thing that I didn't hear in the fall when I bought the house, 44 or 990. And I was like, damn, and then even on the zoning commission, when I lived in Summerwood, I'm in the RCD and I got woods, and then only half of my lot line was, and I had
Yeah.
houses. So it's just one of those things that you sort of go through. So
Well,
I feel your pain on
Yeah.
getting hit with things you don't expect. I've been
Yeah.
down in the same place. When I went home that day and saw the back lot cleared, like I just moved in like 2 weeks, knot in my stomach, pit, like,
Yeah.
wow, this sucks.
And I think that's where we were initially. When
Yeah.
we were working, it was 5 days a week. You're like, it's construction, like you said, temporary, we can deal with it. Now we have weekends, we're like we don't have any peace, and that's what's killing us. So I guess going forward, if there's one thing that I think would be beneficial for, I don't know if there is any kind of resolution or any kind of study we can do with Prouty Road in general, because it has, not only has the speed always been like, it's freshly paved, people rip up that hill, and I get it, I'm a car guy, you see those twisty turns, you coming up the hill, you fly down, and, I don't want to be that pointed out, but it is fast, and on top of that, with the added traffic and the added homes, and if KB Farms does end up being a development, is there something that's going to help us?
So back to what I said earlier,
Yeah.
traffic study. I mean, when you talk about stuff like that,
Exactly.
that's going to be part of the process.
Okay.
Our zoning board's probably going to hit that before even the trustees, and so they're going to require it. The county will look at it. There's a lot of times ODOT, right? And just like when we asked Ivy Ridge to do it, and then they said, no, there needs to be something. So, Prouty Road's one of those things, they brought up the intersection, and K&B Farms, when we said no, was the second or third time I had dealt with that. So it's one of these things, these legacy roads in our community, with
Yeah.
the community growing, is gonna, and unfortunately the way government works, people ask, okay, fine, we got some improvement with the Auburn Road and 90, but then getting on 90 still is
Yeah.
a bear, right?
Yeah,
My reasoning and what I understand about how the government works is like, yeah, ODOT will pay attention to it when we break it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to keep growing and
Yeah.
get to the point where they go, hey, there's too much traffic and we need to do something. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily work like, hey, we're going to do this because we see in 5 years they're going to need more. They don't spend money on that. They wait. So, but again, if you go to zoning or talk to us, you'll start to understand these things. But again, hearing from you, K&B Farms comes up, we're going to remember what you said, and it's going to be in our brain when we're talking to
Yeah.
that developer, 100%. So the value of your time being here tonight and in your other times is well spent. So don't feel like this wasn't worth your time.
I appreciate it. And
It was.
we'll end up going to a zoning meeting to kind of understand, hopefully get some perspective and some more insight into kind of what's going on to, hopefully someone can shed some light on everything that is planned with the future of that. So I appreciate it. So
Did you want to add anything, Mr. Rose? Any kind of factual for them?
I think it would be great, just make me your initial point of contact, because then I can put you to zoning, or I can put you to roads. It may be a county engineer issue with
Yeah.
Prouty and the traffic study. I've had my own discussions with the county engineer and the hill at Prouty and Morley.
Yep.
And that's an ongoing discussion. So if you start with me, that'd be great. I will get you the latest updates on where Blackmore is, and then I know the developer for K&B, or I know the owner of K&B and who's gonna develop it.
Okay.
I'll see if I can get you an update.
That'd
So
be
you've
awesome.
got my info, you
Yeah.
can email me, text me, courier pigeon, and I will get you your answer, so.
awesome. Well, I thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Rose.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you all.
And
Thanks
again,
again.
thank you. I know
Glad
we
you're
didn't
still
tell you
here.
everything you wanted to know, but I appreciate the chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, moving on to old business. Seeing there is none, we will move on to new business.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-24, a resolution repealing Resolution Number 2007-44 and adopting the amended and restated public records policy of Concord Township.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, move to approve Resolution 2025-25, resolution approving an amendment to the rules and regulations of Concord Township Cemetery to include a disclaimer of liability.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That takes us to future meetings and announcements. Mr. Patriarca.
On November 11th, Town Hall will be closed for Veterans Day. November 12th, BZA meeting here at Town Hall, 7 p.m. November 17th, 3 p.m. staff meeting here at Town Hall. November 19th, 5 to 6 p.m. trustee office hours in Town Hall. And 6 p.m. will be the trustee meeting at Town Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Patriarca. That concludes our meeting for this evening. Have a
Good
good
evening.
rest of your week.